Hi, everyone. My name is Kristin Prakash. My mentor was Megan Anderson, and my presentation is on the biological effects of sleep and stress on performance and productivity. I chose this topic because it plays a really direct role in my life, and I've always wondered if maybe not getting enough sleep or being too stressed has had an impact on my performance. So I decided to research it. So let's just start off by defining stress. So I'm going to define stress for the purposes of this presentation as a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or very demanding circumstances. So we can move forward with these two figures that I created. So on the left, we have a figure that shows how stress has been significantly rising for Americans, mostly over the past 3 decades. And on the right, we can see that less and less Americans are reporting getting 8 hours of sleep, which is the recommended number each year. So in 1942, most people got 8 hours, and five or less hours wasn't even a thing. And now it's almost as prominent as 8 hours, and most people get 6 to 7. Just something to think about. So both stress and sleep deprivation have been significantly increasing over the past few decades. And as we're going to learn today, both of them play a big role in performance, productivity, and in your mental and overall health. So let's start by looking at the biological effects of stress. So here's the molecular basis of the flight or fight response. Um, Cortisol is our primary stress hormone. Our adrenal glands, which are right on top of our kidneys, are always making cortisol. But when we get stressed, cortisol production increases. So if the levels are too high or too low, they're harmful for our health. So we need to make sure they're kept in check. So there's different kinds of stress too that are going to impact cortisol levels as well. So acute stress is short-term stress. It's going to cause temporary sympathetic nervous system activation. So what your sympathetic nervous system is, it's part of your nervous system, and whenever there's a stressor, it's going to kind of arouse the body and give it energy to essentially, like in our caveman terms, fight like a predator, another person, whatever, right? It's preparing your body to do that. So it's going to make you feel stressed, increase cortisol production. But then when the stressor passes, the parasympathetic nervous system is going to kick in and counter the imbalance, calming you and returning the body to normal. This is the kind of stress we want in our life. A little bit of stress is going to get us over the finish line, but then when we finish the task, we're going to calm down again. But what we don't want is chronic stress, right? The sympathetic nervous system is going to stay active and it's not going to be countered. And if it just stays active for that long, cortisol levels are just always high. Like I said, that's going to cause problems like maybe a weakened immune system or an increased susceptibility to illness. So let's look at the biological effects of sleep disturbances next. So first, why do we need sleep? Sleep affects almost every tissue and system in the body, so it's essential for survival. And each part of the sleep cycle plays a different role, and each part is really important in making sure when you wake up in the morning, you feel like you got some rest. So, the sleep cycle. The light sleeping stages are non-rapid eye movement 1 and 2, as you can see on the right half of this cycle. Then you have N3, which is your deep sleeping stage. And a common misconception is that REM sleep is deep sleep. That is not the case. REM sleep is the vivid dreaming stage. That's where you're going to have all your dreams. So if you wake up during REM sleep, you're more likely to remember your dreams. But if you don't, you're probably not going to, which is why you might remember your dreams sometimes, but not others. So both NREM and REM serve different roles, but they're both really important, and you need to get a good amount of both to make sure you have gotten good quality sleep. So in some cases, sleep deprivation is directly caused by stress. If you have an exam in the morning, you're probably really nervous and you might not be able to sleep. Sleep deprivation was caused by the stress. But sometimes stress is caused by sleep deprivation. It's getting really late, you're still not able to sleep, and now you're getting nervous about that. So as you can see, sleep deprivation and stress are not two separate problems. It's one vicious cycle. You're stressed, so you can't sleep, so you get stressed, right? And it's just a whole problem. So we need to address them as one problem instead of tackling sleep separately and stress separately. So lastly, we're going to focus on the impact of sleep and stress on productivity. So let's just quickly define them. I'm a student, so I'm going to go with the academic definitions. Performance is your GPA, standardized test scores, your goals, and whether you're able to reach them. And then your productivity is the progress and improvements that a student is able to make. So we're going to talk about real quickly the Maslow hierarchy of needs. So this Maslow created this pyramid to show what we need. The base is what we need to satisfy first, and as we get to the top, it's what we need to satisfy next and next. And a lot of people don't even actually reach, you can't really see self-actualization up here. Um, a lot of people don't actually reach that because that is you reaching one's full potential. And some common people that we would know are Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa. They've all been said to have been self-actualized. So let's talk about immediate physiological needs like food and water. We need to satisfy that first. Then we can look at safety. Then we can look at love and belonging, then esteem. And that's around where most people tend to get stuck in their lives. And some people, very few, go on to get self-actualized, reaching your full potential. So next, we're going to talk about the Yerkes-Dodson law. So this law states that if you have moderate stress levels, your performance is going to be enhanced. But if you have excessive stress levels or really low stress levels, your performance is going to be inhibited. So let's look at an example, right? There was a study that conducted a reading comprehension test on children. The kids that were really, really anxious about it did the worst. The kids that were not anxious at all about it did okay, but the group that did the best were the kids who were somewhat anxious about it because they were nervous enough to care, but they weren't too nervous that their performance was affected negatively. So, of course, sleep and stress aren't the only things that affect your performance and your productivity. Another thing is goal setting. So, goal setting, if it's effective, is going to increase productivity. It gives you a specific focus that you have to work towards. But if you have an unrealistic goal, you're going to feel as if you can't achieve it anyway. So, what's the point of being productive? And it's going to have the opposite effect. And another thing I wanted to bring up is that traditional goal setting methods like the SMART goal aren't going to be as effective as methods like visualization. SMART goals help you make specific goals and it makes you aware of the goal, but visualization more so helps you to picture yourself achieving the goal and you can kind of picture what you need to do to get to that spot. Right. So visualization is probably, and my research has shown, is more effective than the traditional goal setting method of a SMART goal. So maybe keep that in mind next time you're setting a goal. So the main takeaways of today is that stress is inevitable. We actually need stress, right? As we saw with the Yerkes-Dodson law, we need stress in our lives. It's not a bad thing, but we need to manage it effectively to make sure it's helpful and not harmful. Make sure it's acute and not chronic. Next, we're all trying to reach optimal performance. So you need to have your basic needs met, as we saw with the Maslow hierarchy of needs. You need to have moderate stress levels, as we saw with the Yerkes-Dodson law, and like I just mentioned, realistic goals. It's important to know what you're working towards and not get overwhelmed by that. And that's how you're going to get optimal performance. So, lastly, sleep and stress are not two problems. They're one problem. So, instead of addressing sleep problems and stress problems, we address it as one big thing, and we're going to actually get closer to a solution. So, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you have a good day.